This is the Non Sequitur Show, where bold ideas are righteous, unique perspectives are gospel, and strong opinions are sacred. Season 1, Episode 7. Renegade, Philosophy's Man in Black. A special interview with activist Aron Ra. Join in on the discussion and check out upcoming episodes at www.nonseqshow.com. That's NONSEQ show.com. And now, here are your hosts, Kyle Curtis and Steve McRae.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Kyle Curtis. I am joined by my co-host, Steve McRae, and this is Non Sequitur. Today we have a very special interview with personally one of my favorite YouTubers. He is widely known in the atheist and theist debate, and I think that if you're in that world, he will be absolutely no stranger to you. And of course, I'm talking about the one, the only Aron Ra. Aron has been a political activist for more than a decade. He is an international public speaker, advocating science, education, skeptical thinking, humanist values, and secular policies all over the country, and in 20 other countries. As a former regional director of the American Atheists, and now president of the Atheist Alliance of America, he has over 144,000 subscribers to his channel, which has garnished him millions of views. He is also the host of a podcast, Ramen, which you cannot get a better name than that, I don't think. But he is the host of the Ramen podcast, which spotlights progressive people, inventors, performers, politicians, pioneers.
My pleasure.
Everything going good in your world?
Yeah. I've got a couple of series that I'm doing that I'm happy with, and I'm happy with everything that I'm writing in the next series or the next episode that I'm going to do. The one after this, I've already got that written, and I'm excited about everything that I'm producing, and I'm delighted right now. And I kind of just sit at my key. I mean, it's really actually a terribly boring life. I just sit at my keyboard and I write and I edit videos and record. But I enjoy that the way other people enjoy painting. I paint too, I used to. Nobody has time anymore. But I spend all my time composing these presentations, and I enjoy it. It's my art form. So I'm happy that I get to do this for a living now.
So let's start there then. What kind of brought you to your place of activism now? Did you grow up in any type of religion? Were you religious at any point? And then what was the turning point, the spot in your life that kind of gave you cracks in the dam, so to speak? Yeah,
this is kind of an interesting story in that it's not the same as everybody else's. I mean, I was a Christian. I was a Christian in the sense that I believed that Jesus was our Savior for whatever the hell that meant and everything, because my parents said so. I was raised in a Mormon family, although I never adopted Mormon belief myself. Mm-hmm. I was baptized into their church at 8 years old because they considered that to be the age of reason, but it's certainly not the age of consent. And forever after that, when people would ask me what my religion was, I would say, well, my family is Mormon. And then they wouldn't even realize that there's a comma there, which is almost certainly going to be followed by a but.
Right.
But right then they would jump in and start telling me all the crazy things that Mormons believe. And this was advantageous for me growing up because I got to see from other Christians how different Christian denominations deal out hatred against each other.
Good point.
And I know a lot of Christians will say that Mormons aren't really Christian, and that's another topic that to go into probably the next time I'm on stage, or the ridiculousness of excluding all of these other groups because they don't believe exactly like you do. There's as many different kinds of Christianity as there are individual Christians. Everybody Christianity is just about making up your own bullshit and pretending to believe that. Well, so if people want to say that Mormons aren't really Christian, And I can understand why they would, but I mean, it's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Sorry, they are They are Christian. There's no way getting around that. But it's gotten to the point where Mormons are now embarrassed by Protestants to the point that Mormons are starting to distinguish themselves or distance themselves.
That's crazy.
I've actually seen Mormons now start talking about Mormonism versus Christians, which I never heard as a child. The only Christianity I knew was Mormon. And now I'm seeing them distinct. Well, we're not like those people.
Yeah, I was in the same boat as you. I was baptized Mormon when I was 17, and it was kind of one of those things where, yeah, I totally believe that they are a Christian church, sure, but they're no more not Christian than Catholic or Protestant or Jehovah's Witness or whatever denomination. Like you said, there's 44,000 something denominations. What makes one more Christian than the other? I have no idea. Let them figure it out.
A Baptist will talk to a Pentecost, and they will agree, at least on this one thing, that Mormons are not Christian. But go tell a Mormon that they're not Christian. It's the same as going and telling a Catholic that they're not Christian.
But for demographics, they'll include them, though.
I love when the Protestants try to say that the Catholics are not true Christians, because that makes a substantial argument. Over half, more than half of the entire Christian collective is Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
So if Catholics are not true Christians, then when you look at the pie charts of all the world religions, that means that the true Christians, meaning the Protestant Christians, are no longer the dominant religion. Christianity is not the number one religion in the world. Islam is.
Interesting.
Now, Islam's going to be soon anyway, but by excluding Catholics, they just give Muslims the dominant position, so that Islam is the dominant religion in the world, and in Christianity, if we're going to consider it only to be Protestant Christianity, they become the fourth largest religion, not the second.
Wow. It drops down that much?
They come after Catholics, and get this, Catholics come after Hindus.
Wow. Why do you think? You just said that that Islam will be quickly become the most popular religion.
Well, that goes back to the question you just asked me about how I became an activist. Honestly, that's it. It was the realization some 20 years ago that Islam is the fastest growing religion and that Christianity is in a general state of worldwide decline. So, I'm able to extrapolate to see that the inroads that we make in our legal system today that accommodate faith will only pave the way for the Islamification of the United States in a future generation upcoming. Because everything that we make that caters to Christianity now will only cater to Islam when it becomes the next dominant religion. And the only way to contest that, you can't fight religion with religion. That just doesn't work. But
Right.
you can fight it with reason. It's the only tool that we have. It's the only one that can work. And so secular politics, and this is where I get really frustrated at Christians who do not understand that atheists are their greatest ally. Because you've seen how religious people will group together, and they'll even bond with with the Jews, and they'll bond with the Muslims even against their common hated enemy, the atheists. And the reason for that is because atheists aren't buying into the game of pretend like everybody else is, because that's what all religion is. It's pretending. Okay,
right.
And so they exclude us because we're the only ones that are not pretenders. But the advantage that Christians in the United States have in atheists as an ally is that we are advocating for secular laws. And so when Islam does eventually dominate, not just worldwide, but in the United States specifically, because the United States is one of the last remaining Christian strongholds.
Mm-hmm.
When the Muslim religion is the dominant religion even here, those Christians are going to be wishing that they had a separation of church and state.
Do you think that will happen here?
Because you see them admit this sometimes when they want to do things for faith-based schools and so forth. And they say, okay, that's a great idea. We'll go ahead and extend that to the Muslim schools as well. And then suddenly you hear the screeching noise of the brakes locking up in the freeway with you. No. We need secular education. Well, yeah, only when you have to accommodate the other religions do you realize what the hell secularism actually means.
It is so funny you mention that, because one of your famous theists that you love so much, G-Man, just recently called me up, and he said, "Hey, Steve, have you heard that there's no more separation of church and state? Trump has done away with separation of church and state." I said, "Really? News to me. When did this happen?" Not that he could anyways, obviously. It's in the news. It's in the news. I'm like, there's nothing in the news about this. And I kept explaining to him that didn't happen. It was something that Trump said in 2016 to what I believe was the Johnson Amendment. Right, correct, to the Johnson Amendment, which didn't even go through anyways on the Republican bill. But he couldn't understand that if there was no separation of church and state, and I told him the exact same thing, your flavor of religion, your denomination of Christianity is not going to be the one that takes over. It's going to be probably Islam.
That's why I can't, if
that was the case.
It's hard for me to understand that Islam could get a stronghold and become a majority here in this nation. You know, with all the war on terror and the way that it's portrayed in the media, like what would it? Why would that be, Aron? Why would Islam eventually take strong?
Well, because Islam doesn't have all of. Forgive me for saying this, but the advantage that Islam has is that it doesn't have all the unbelievable bullshit that Christianity has. Okay, they've taken away a lot of it. There's so little of Christianity makes sense. I mean, I'm being unnecessarily polite by saying that there's any part of it that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. But if you want to convert a Christian, you're going to have to get them to believe a whole bunch of bullshit that just doesn't pan out. Why? I'm not even going to get into all the questions. But with Islam, it's very, very simple. Right, you have a God that's going to judge you over whether you believe. You don't have the original sin, so you don't have to believe in creationism. And if you don't believe in creationism, then you've got to find some other justification for why the hell did Jesus have to die if there wasn't original sin, and why did God have to come down in human form to be himself, to kill himself, to appease himself? None of that makes any damn sense, right? But with Islam, you don't get that. With Islam, you get more the classic version that a lot of Christians already believe, which is, and this is a mistake that they believe this, but they think that God is going to judge them over whether they're good and bad. Nowhere does the Bible imply that. Sorry. The Bible judges you over whether you believe. That's it. Whether you believe impossible nonsense for no good reason, because if you're an evil person, all sins can be forgiven if you but believe, and if you don't believe, then it doesn't matter how great or wonderful or charitable you are, because the only sin that cannot be forgiven is the sin of disbelief, expressed as blaspheme against the Holy Ghost. So there's no way, no provision under which a non-believer could ever get into heaven, either in the Christian scheme nor the Muslim scheme either. But the advantage that the Muslims have is that they don't have all of this other stuff that they have to make apologies for. They've just got the simple five. You believe in the God, and you're good. Or if you don't believe in the God, then you're screwed. And we don't have to have all of the other stories and all the other fables. They've disassociated themselves from all of it. Now, you have a lot of Muslims who are flat earthers. You have a lot of Muslims who are young earth creationists and so forth. But they don't have to be. There's nothing in their theology that requires that they reject science on any of these grounds. So you can have a perfectly reasonable Muslim who holds his position accepting all the sciences, he can accept evolution and everything. He just holds on to the one thing that is required. You have to submit to God. Mm-hmm. You have that belief in God, and that's it.
So it's much more inclusive.
How easy is it to sell that?
Yeah, it's much more inclusive.
Yeah, no, when you talk about like young earth creationism and everything and flat earth, you've got to sell whole volumes full of nonsense.
That's a very good point that I've never thought about. It kind of is telling, I think, to I guess people's mindset sometimes. You mentioned there. This is where I was going to go next anyway, but it's kind of good that you picked up on it. You said the word fable, and one of the videos that it actually made me start following you, and that I think was just brilliant, was your breakdown of Noah's Ark and the reasons that could not be possible. Can you kind of condense, in those 4 videos into a? It
wasn't. Those weren't 4 videos. I think those were 8.
Yeah, that was a whole series. Yeah, I think it was. I know it was over half a dozen. Yeah,
I've only seen 4 of them. I'll say good, and I have something to watch.
Yeah, there was, and I had professional scientists assisting me on every one of them.
They were great. They were brilliant.
Well, thank you very much. I had to do this because when you're trying to talk to believers, it's a strange thing. They don't care what the facts are. They believe in authority. So what is my authority? I in order to say something is true and have them accept it as true, I have to say, well, this is actually coming from, Professor blankety blank PhD.
Right.
Because otherwise they're not going to hear it. It's the same fact, no matter who says it.